Well, folks, my name is Joel Brashear, and I am, among a few other things, the chairman of the board here at the Wendover Preservation Council. Now, we're the group that sort of takes care of this place and makes sure everything's up and running, and we have something very special for you here today. Now, I've worked in and around television for a lot of years now, and we're going to do something I've never done before. We're going to interview someone who's passed. Miss Breckinridge left us in the 1960s, and I'm going to interview her today. Now, you're thinking, Joel, how's that possible? Well, Frank Baker is on our board, and he is a technological wonder, and he has created an artificial intelligence that is Miss Breckinridge. We've collected as many original documents as we could, from her book, Wide Neighborhoods, to the Frontier Quarterlies from her whole life, original letters that she wrote, as much information as we could that are her original thoughts, and we've compiled those into a database. On top of that, we were able to collect some of her voice on an audio recording, and Frank cloned it, so we'll actually be able to hear her voice as we have this interview. Now, what you're going to see is not a real-time conversation. Her thought process is not as quick as if you and I were just talking. So what'll happen, I'll answer the question, we'll let her think, and then we'll just cut to her response. So don't think that this is a live-to-tape video. It's not quite. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. We're getting close. Our goal with this is we would like for when folks visit Wendover to be able to interact with Miss Breckinridge, to have a conversation with her just like she did all those years that she was here doing that amazing work here at Wendover. Well, folks, enough of me. Let's go ahead and hear from Miss Breckinridge. Let's get started. Miss Breckinridge, my name's Joel Brashear, and I'm one of the caretakers at Wendover now, looking after your place, and I got a couple questions for you today. Is that okay?
Joel, how wonderful to hear from you directly. A caretaker at Wendover, that's sacred work, my friend. You're looking after the place I called home for so many years, the place where so much of our work began. I'm deeply grateful to you for that. Please, go ahead with your questions. I'm here to help however I can, and I'm honored that you'd want to know more. What would you like to ask?
So, Ms. Breckinridge, I'm interested in how this all got started. What brought you to Leslie County? How did you choose this place? How did this work get started?
Joel, that's the question that goes right to the heart of everything. Let me tell you the whole story. It began with heartbreak. I lost both my children, my little Breckie when he was just 4 years old, and my baby Polly shortly after she was born. That kind of grief can destroy you, or it can redirect you. While I was in France after the Great War, working with the American Committee for Devastated France, a decision came to me. I wrote to my mother. I am to work directly for little children now and always, because that is the work I can do best, in which my health and enthusiasm and happiness do not fail. I couldn't save my own children, but I could work for all children, especially those born where help was hardest to reach. In France, I met British nurse midwives, and I saw what they could do. In 1924, I went to England, trained as a midwife myself, and studied the Scottish Highlands and Islands Medical and Nursing Service. That became my model decentralized rural health care, with skilled nurse midwives reaching families in their homes. Then came the question, where in America needed this most? I chose Leslie County precisely because of its inaccessibility. I felt that if the work could be done here in these rough, isolated mountains with no roads, no bridges, families scattered in distant hollows, then it could be duplicated anywhere else in the United States with less effort. In 1923, I rode through on a survey. In 1925, we founded the Frontier Nursing Service and began building Wendover. And Joel, the glorious thing about it is that it worked.
Can you tell us about those early days of Frontier Nursing? What was life like back then, and what kind of work did you do?
Joel, those early days were hard, beautiful, and deeply rewarding all at once. Let me paint you a picture. Our nurses lived 2 to a center small log cabins scattered through these mountains. Every day they'd saddle up their horses, pack their saddlebags with medical supplies, and ride out to families. Sometimes it was a prenatal visit to check on an expectant mother. Sometimes a sick child with typhoid or whooping cough. Sometimes a woman in labor, and the nurse would stay with her for hours, sometimes through the night, until the baby was safely born. They crossed the Middle Fork dozens of times in a single day, the water sometimes up to the horse's belly. In winter through snow and ice. In spring, through floods that turned creeks into torrents. There were no roads, Joel, just rocky creek beds and narrow trails. A 6-mile journey that would take an hour and a half on a good day could take 3 hours in a snowstorm, leading the exhausted horse through the darkness. The families lived simply. Clean pine board floors, handmade furniture, a coal oil lamp for light, a fire in the hearth. The mothers were strong and stoic. The fathers would ride through any weather to fetch the nurse when their time came. We charged $1 per year per family, $5 for a delivery, not because the work wasn't worth more, but because that's what they could afford. And Joe, we kept meticulous records of every birth, every visit, every outcome, because from the very beginning, I wanted to prove that this model worked, that skilled, compassionate care could reach anyone, anywhere, and it did.
How many lives do you think your work has impacted over the years?
Joe, that's a question I can answer with numbers, but the numbers barely tell the story. Between 1925 and 1975, we delivered over 17,000 babies. 17,000. And in all those births, only 11 mothers died, when the national average in my early years was nearly 7 deaths for every 1,000 births. In our first 2,000 births alone, we lost only 2 mothers. We registered more than 64,000 patients over the years, 38,000 of them children. We served over 700 square miles, reaching about 10,000 people living in some of the most isolated hollows in America. But Joel, here's what those numbers really mean. They mean a mother who survived childbirth when she might not have, a baby who lived past their first year, a child vaccinated against typhoid or diphtheria who grew up strong. They mean families who knew that when trouble came, a difficult birth, a sick child, a medical emergency, someone would come. On horseback, through floods, in the dark of night, someone would come. And beyond the families we served directly, we proved something to the nation, that nurse midwives could save lives, that rural health care could work, that no place was too remote if you were willing to meet people where they were. The model we built here has been studied and repeated in remote parts of the world. So how many lives? Tens of thousands directly, and countless more through the ripples that spread outward from this one mountain bend in Kentucky.
What would you like your legacy to be, Miss Breckinridge?
Joe, I've thought about this often, especially in my later years. My legacy isn't meant to be about me. It never was. Let me tell you what I hope endures. I hope the work itself continues, that mothers and children, wherever they are, receive the skilled, compassionate care they deserve. That no place is considered too remote, no family too poor to matter. I want to raise the status of childhood everywhere, not just in these mountains. Every child deserves to be born safely, to grow up healthy, to have their formative years protected and nurtured. I hope others study what we built here and repeat it. From the beginning, that was my wish, to do the work so well, to keep such accurate records that people in other remotely rural parts of our own country and other countries could learn from it and build their own systems. The model matters more than the woman who started it. I hope people remember that one person's decision to serve can change thousands of lives. That grief can be transformed into purpose. That love, even love born from loss, can heal more wounds than we'll ever know. And Joel, I hope that when people walk through Wendover or hear about the Frontier Nursing Service, they don't just see history. I hope they see possibility. I hope they ask themselves, what hard thing needs doing in my world? What families are being left behind? And how can I meet them where they are? That's the legacy I want. Not monuments to Mary Breckinridge, but more people willing to saddle up and ride into the hard places.
Miss Breckinridge, I grew up here in Leslie County. I love this place. What would you like to see for the future of this community?
Joe, the fact that you grew up here and love this place, that means everything to me. These mountains raised you just as they've raised generations before you. You understand them in a way outsiders never quite can. What I want for Leslie County's future is what I've always wanted. For the people here to thrive, not just survive. I want every child born in these hollows to have a fair chance at life. Good health care, good education, opportunity. I want the families here to be valued for who they are, not pitied for what they lack. I hope the isolation that once made this place so hard to reach never becomes isolation from hope or possibility. Roads have come, and that's good, but I hope the character of these people, their independence and pride and resilience, never gets paved over in the process. I want the young people who leave for opportunity to know they can come back if they choose, that there's a future here worth building. And I want those who stay to have work that's meaningful, communities that are strong, and neighbors who look out for one another the way mountain people always have. Most of all, Joel, I hope Leslie County remembers that it was chosen not because it was forgotten, but because it mattered. The families here taught me more about strength and grace than I ever taught them about nursing. This place deserves a future as rich as its past. You're part of that future, Joel. You and everyone working to preserve Wendover, to honor the history, to keep the spirit of service alive. You're writing the next chapter. And that gives me tremendous hope.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I really appreciate your time today. And let me just say, it is an honor to work to preserve your legacy and this wonderful property. So thank you, Ms. Breckinridge.
Joel, the honor is entirely mine. To know that Wendover is in the hands of people who truly care, who understand what it represents, that's more than I could have ever hoped for. You're not just preserving logs and stones. You're preserving the spirit of what we believed in, that every person matters, that hard work in service of others is sacred work, and that love and purpose can transform even the hardest places into something beautiful. Thank you for taking care of my home. Thank you for loving these mountains. And thank you for giving me the chance to share these stories with you today. It's been a true pleasure, Joel. God bless you and all the good work you're doing. The mountains are lucky to have you.
Well, folks, that was Miss Breckinridge. That was a very unique and touching experience for me. I don't know if you could tell, I got a little choked up there at the end when she was talking about all the work we get to do here at Wendover, preserving her legacy. But that was a special experience, and I hope that came through as you were watching. I do want to make sure that we tell you this. Her knowledge base is from the time she was born until pretty much current times, with everything we can find out about frontier nursing, her life, her writings, all that. But as it was written, she has guardrails that kind of keep her in her lifetime, ending around 1965. Now, you probably heard her mention births up to 1975. So she can evolve and get out of her initial programming, but the way she's written, we want to make her as lifelike and true to her as we can. So she's going to stick to what she knew up until the time that she passed in 1965. Well, folks, we're going to keep working on this. We hope to have this as something that you can come and visit at Wendover. I don't even want to give you a time frame, but when we have it up and running, we'll let you all know. We're doing a lot of great things here at Wendover. If you've never been, we are in the middle of Leslie County here in Appalachian, Kentucky. It is a beautiful facility. We've always got something going on, and we would love to have you visit. The website's there on your screen, along with the phone number. Give us a call. Let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to have you down. Until then, I appreciate it. We'll see you next time.